and one of what was lost in silence. In 1998, Edward Lang stood at the marble balcony of his London penthouse, looking over a city he helped shape. At 42, he was the financial architect behind one of Europe's largest investment firms, a man who could move markets with a sentence. Newspapers called him the alchemist of capital. But behind that title was a man who hadn't spoken to his brother in 10 years and couldn't remember the last time someone said his name without a motive. Edward wasn't born rich. He grew up in the industrial North, a coal miner's son who promised himself that he'd never live another day under someone else's shadow. Money was not just wealth to him, it was redemption. Each pound earned was a piece of armor against the shame of poverty. But success is a strange storm. It builds slowly, then consumes all sound. By the early 2000s, Edward's empire had grown into a fortress of glass towers and quarterly reports. He bought art he didn't understand, homes he didn't visit, and friends who never stayed. At board meetings, his voice carried command. At dinners, it echoed against empty chairs. One evening, he received a call from the hospital. His father had passed away. Edward arrived too late for the funeral. His brother refused to see him. In the will, there was only one line for Edward. "You became everything I never was, and nothing I wanted you to be." For the first time, the numbers didn't add up. He'd spent a lifetime buying approval, but affection wasn't for sale. In 2008, when the global financial crisis hit, Edward's company began to collapse. Investors demanded answers, reporters swarmed his mansion. He stood in the mirror one night, surrounded by news headlines calling him the man who broke trust. His reflection looked like a stranger wearing his success. So he disappeared. For months, he lived quietly in a small coastal town in Scotland. No suits, no screens, no schedules. There he met an old fisherman named Alastair, who once lost his entire savings in the same crash. But Alastair smiled more than anyone Edward had ever met. When Edward asked him how he managed to stay content, the man simply said, "I stopped counting what I lost and started noticing what stayed." It wasn't profound, but it was enough. Years later, a local paper ran a small story. Former financier volunteers to teach economics at village school. Edward never returned to the markets. He lived a quiet life by the sea, mentoring children about money, not how to earn it, but how to respect it. In the end, his greatest profit was peace. And for the first time in decades, Edward Lang wasn't calculating anything. He was simply present. We chase wealth to fill the silence of our fears, but sometimes the richest sound in life is the quiet that remains when everything else is gone.